True love is like the sun. It shines without discrimination and does not expect anything in return.
When love becomes a transaction, it loses its purity and turns into a prison.
Genuine love springs from the awareness of being, celebrating union without sacrificing freedom.
Pure love is like a flower in spring. It does not fear the changes of the seasons.
Hello, I'm Ruby and Oliver, and today I have the honor of welcoming two of the greatest spiritual masters of all time, Nisargadatta Maharaj and Jiddu Krishnamurti. The wisdom of these masters has revolutionized our understanding of love and detachment. And today you will have access to profound teachings that can completely transform your life. In this extraordinary episode, we will dive into a fundamental theme: how to love without attachment, a subject that touches the essence of human suffering and shows us the way to more authentic and liberating relationships. You will discover why attachment is not love, how to cultivate genuine relationships without emotional dependence, and the secret to finding inner peace even amidst life's transformations. We will explore the difference between true compassion and romantic idealization, and understand how detachment can actually bring us closer to the people we love. Get ready for a transformative journey where we will learn that true love does not need chains to exist. Let's start with a question that deeply touches our human essence. Is true love altruistic, or is it impossible to love without expecting anything in return? Maharaj, I would like to start by hearing your perspective on this.
True love is something that completely transcends our expectations and personal desires, Rubian. It is like the sun, which shines and warms without discrimination, without expecting the flowers to return that light. When we truly love, we connect with an essence that is beyond the self and its limitations. Altruistic love is not based on exchange, but on the awareness that we are all interconnected. When we realize that love, in its most genuine form, flows naturally from consciousness, we understand that this energy does not seek reciprocity. It is the pure surrender to being. Therefore, when we love truly, we do so for the essence of love itself, and not for any return we might expect.
What a profound perspective on the nature of love. Krishnamurti, how do you see this issue? Can true love exist without expectations of return?
True love, when genuine, is like a flower that blooms simply because it is its moment to blossom. It arises naturally from a free heart, unconfined by the expectations of what it may or may not receive in return. When love becomes a transaction of giving in exchange for a receiving, it loses its purity and transforms into a conditioned bond, which can lead to frustration and disillusionment. In the pursuit of love, it is essential to detach from the imposition of results. As you surrender to the act of loving, without reservations, you connect to the universal, entering a space where vulnerability and innocence intertwine. True and free love is not just an action, but a state of being that flows from the recognition of the other in their entirety.
Extraordinary how both perspectives converge to a universal truth. Authentic love transcends expectations and flows naturally as a vital force that seeks no rewards. Let's move on to our next question. But before we continue, let me give you an incredible tip. Did you know that it's very easy to get ahead of 99% of people, succeeding in everything you want for your life? I'll leave a link in the first comment below to a book that changed my perspective on various aspects of my mind, and that has been helping thousands of people find clarity and confidence to achieve their goals and dreams. Don't miss it. I'm sure you'll love it. Now, let's explore a delicate question that many of us face. Maharaj, is attachment a distortion of love or an inevitable part of the human experience?
Rubian, attachment can be seen as a distortion of love, as it arises when we confuse our temporary identifications with our true essence. It's like when we try to hold water in our hands, the tighter we grip, the more it slips away. Authentic love flows naturally, unconditionally, while attachment tries to imprison and control. When we cling, whether to people, possessions, or ideas, we are actually manifesting our expectations and personal needs, distancing ourselves from unconditional love. Although attachment is part of the human experience, our true fulfillment comes when we learn to love without becoming trapped, recognizing that our essential nature transcends these temporary identifications.
A very interesting analogy about water, Maharaj. And you, Krishnamurti, how do you see this relationship between love and attachment in our journey?
Look, Rubian, attachment is definitely a distortion of love. It's like a shadow that arises when we allow fear and insecurity to obscure the light of true love. Imagine a flower in spring. It does not cling to the soil nor fear the changes of the seasons. Pure love is like this, free, fluid, without conditions. Attachment arises from our need for fulfillment and control. True love, on the other hand, celebrates the freedom of the other. It's a journey of learning to distinguish between these two states, allowing our relationships to be based on freedom, innocence, and vulnerability, without the distortions that fear brings.
Fascinating how both illuminate different aspects of this subtle distinction between love and attachment. This makes us reflect on how we can cultivate freer and more authentic relationships. And for you who are noticing the quality of this conversation and the depth and importance of what we are discussing here, please help us by leaving a like and also comment on what you would like to see here on our channel. I sincerely thank you for your help. Continuing here, another deep question that touches the heart of our relationships. Maharaj, is it possible to free oneself from attachment without becoming indifferent to others?
Absolutely, Rubian. Detachment is not indifference. It is a higher form of love that frees us from the distorted lenses of our own needs and insecurities. It's like learning to dance with life. When we let go of the fear of making mistakes, our movements become more natural and fluid. When we free ourselves from attachment, we become more conscious observers of experiences and relationships. It's like developing a clearer vision without the filters of expectations and fear. This does not diminish our capacity to love. On the contrary, it allows love to flow more authentically, without the barriers of control or possessiveness. True detachment creates a sacred space where people can be who they truly are, without the pressure to meet our expectations. It is a state that enriches our connections and awakens genuine compassion.
What a beautiful perspective on the liberation from attachment. And you, Krishnamurti, how do you see this possibility of balancing detachment with love for others?
Rubian, liberation from attachment is precisely what allows us to love more deeply and authentically. It is a process of internal maturation where the mind detaches from the ties that prevent it from perceiving reality clearly. Think of a flower that blooms without clinging to the soil that supports it. It lives fully in the moment, appreciating the sunlight and the rain, without struggling to maintain its position. This absence of attachment creates a space where we can truly be present for others. By cultivating this inner freedom, empathy, and genuine concern for others naturally flourish. Instead of a connection based on possessiveness or dependence, we develop relationships grounded in understanding and authentic care.
Impressive how detachment, far from making us cold, can actually open us up to a deeper and truer love. Let's move on to our next question. We have arrived at a fascinating question that touches the essence of human relationships. Maharaj, is compassion truly the foundation of true love, or just an idealized form of relationship?
Compassion, Rubian, is much more than an abstract concept. It is the very foundation of authentic love. It is like a bridge that connects our individual consciousness to the totality of life, allowing us to transcend the limits of our own self. When we develop true compassion, we go beyond superficial appearances and touch the essence that unites all beings. It is similar to understanding that, although each wave in the ocean seems separate, they are all manifestations of the same water. The lack of compassion keeps us trapped in superficial relationships, while its presence allows us to experience love in its purest and most unconditional form. It is through compassion that love manifests in concrete actions of care and empathy, creating deeper and more meaningful relationships. It is not just an aspect of love, it is the fertile ground where true love can blossom in all its fullness.
What a profound analogy about the ocean and its waves. And you, Krishnamurti, what is your perspective on the role of compassion in true love?
Look, Rubian, compassion is truly the foundation upon which authentic love is built. When we observe closely, we realize that it transcends mere feeling. It is a vital force that moves us toward the other with understanding and care. It's like being in front of a wilted flower. Naturally, the desire to care for it, to nourish it, to provide what it needs to bloom again arises within us. This is the essence of compassion, a spontaneous movement that recognizes the vulnerability of others and responds with presence and acceptance. Love without compassion can easily become an empty idealization, distant from human reality with its imperfections and challenges. True compassion allows us to embrace both light and shadow in our relationships, creating a space of genuine acceptance and understanding.
Extraordinary how both views illuminate different facets of compassion, showing how it transcends the romantic ideal to become a transformative force in our relationships. A question that touches the core of our emotional experiences. Maharaj, is suffering caused by love itself or by our attachment to outcomes and expectations?
You see, Rubian, suffering does not arise from love in its pure essence, but rather from how our minds condition it through expectations and desires for specific outcomes. True love is like a vital force that flows naturally, connecting and uniting without creating bonds. Think of a butterfly landing on your hand. If you try to hold it tightly, it gets hurt or flies away. The same happens with love. Suffering arises when we try to measure and control this feeling, when we create a metric of validation or return that we expect to receive. Love in its most authentic nature is a broad and liberating experience. It is when we start adding layers of expectations and needs that we create space for pain and dissatisfaction. True joy lies in allowing love to be a natural and free expression, without the shackles of desire for specific outcomes.
What a revealing analogy about the butterfly. Krishnamurti, I would like to hear your perspective on this relationship between love, suffering, and expectations.
Rubian, suffering emerges not from love itself, but from our tendency to turn it into something that needs to satisfy our emotional needs and desires. Authentic love is like a river that flows freely. It is when we try to dam it with expectations that we begin to experience pain. When we admire something with pure love, whether it's a landscape or a precious moment, we do not demand anything in return. It is our attachment to specific outcomes that creates fertile ground for disappointment. The challenge lies in cultivating this internal freedom, allowing love to flow naturally, without the shackles of expectation. It is attachment that generates conflict, not love in its essence. When we manage to release our expectations and accept love in its purest form, we find an authentic connection where joy and peace can truly flourish.
Extraordinary how both perspectives converge to a profound truth. It is not love that causes suffering, but rather our attempt to control and shape it to our expectations. A question that touches the essence of our relationships. Maharaj, how can we differentiate genuine love from emotional dependency?
Rubian, the difference between genuine love and emotional dependency lies in the deeper roots of our motivations and feelings. True love is like a harmonious dance, where each partner maintains their individuality while moving in tune with the other. There is no need for control or possession, just a celebration of connection and mutual freedom. On the other hand, emotional dependency is like a heavy anchor that binds us to the other out of fear and insecurity. The person feels incomplete, as if they need the other to exist fully. This leads us to an important reflection. Am I loving the other, or am I just trying to fill a void within myself? The metaphor of the flower I mentioned illustrates this distinction well. In genuine love, you nurture and allow for natural growth, while in dependency, there is an attempt to control and confine. True love springs from the awareness of being, celebrating union without sacrificing individuality.
What an enlightening perspective. Krishnamurti, how do you see this difference between authentic love and emotional dependency?
Genuine love, Rubian, is like a gentle breeze that caresses without trying to possess. It is an energy that flows naturally, allowing each to be authentic and free. When we truly love, the happiness of the other becomes part of our own joy, regardless of their physical presence. Emotional dependency, on the other hand, arises from a place of lack and attachment. It is like trying to hold sand between your fingers. The tighter we grip, the more it slips away. In this state, the relationship becomes an emotional prison where anxiety and fear replace true connection. The key is to observe whether our happiness depends on the constant presence of the other. Genuine love allows us to experience joy in mutual freedom, while dependency keeps us trapped in a cycle of dissatisfaction and longing.
What a brilliant distinction. While true love elevates and liberates us, dependency traps us in our own fears and insecurities. A question that touches the heart of family. Maharaj, is parental love really the supreme example of unconditional love, or a relationship naturally laden with expectations?
Rubian, this is a complex question that deserves deep analysis. Parental love is often seen as the ultimate expression of unconditional love, but the reality is more nuanced. It is like a crystal clear lake that, although naturally pure, can be disturbed by ripples of expectations and conditioning. Often, parents, influenced by their own experiences and desires, project their aspirations onto their children. This creates an interesting tension between natural love and constructed expectations. To achieve a more authentic expression of this love, it is essential to cultivate deep acceptance, allowing our children to be who they truly are. True parental love transcends these expectations, flowing like a river without barriers, reflecting the purest essence of being. It is in this space of mutual acceptance that the relationship can flourish free from pressures and obligations.
What a revealing perspective. Krishnamurti, how do you see this duality between unconditional parental love and the natural expectations that arise in this relationship?
You see, Rubian, parental love is like a complex garden where different elements coexist. Pure love acts as the nourishing fertilizer that allows for natural growth, while expectations can function as a trellis that, while offering support, sometimes restricts spontaneous development. This relationship often inhabits a space of profound ambiguity. On one hand, we see unconditional sacrifices and genuine dedication. On the other, we find parents who, in their anxiety to see their children succeed, may impose their own aspirations and dreams. The challenge lies in finding the balance that allows for the expression of love in its most authentic form, creating an environment where each can grow fully and sincerely, free from the shackles of excessive expectations.
Fascinating how both views reveal the complexity of this fundamental relationship, showing that true parental love resides in the delicate balance between care and freedom. We arrive at a very important question that touches the essence of self-knowledge. Maharaj, is detachment really the key to inner peace, or can it lead us to loneliness and isolation?
Rubian, it is essential to understand that true detachment has nothing to do with isolation or indifference. It is like observing a flowing river. You can appreciate its beauty and movement without trying to possess or control its waters. Detachment is a practice of liberation that allows us to experience life in its fullness. When you detach, you are not rejecting experiences or relationships, but rather freeing yourself from the limitations of the ego and the expectations that cause suffering. It is a natural process of transformation, just as nature renews itself in cycles, not through rejection, but as part of its intrinsic wisdom. This state of inner freedom connects us more deeply with our true selves, bringing a peace that transcends external circumstances. Far from isolating us, genuine detachment opens space for more authentic relationships, where love and compassion can naturally flourish.
What an enlightening perspective on the true meaning of detachment. Krishnamurti, how do you see this relationship between detachment, inner peace, and human connections?
Detachment, Rubian, is actually a portal to a profound freedom that allows us to find true inner peace. It is common for people to confuse detachment with coldness or isolation, but it is exactly the opposite. It is a liberation that allows us to be more present and connected. Imagine a tree in an open field, whose branches move freely in the wind. It does not cling to the branches that have already broken, but remains open to new sprouts. Such is detachment, an openness to live with lightness and authenticity, free from the weight of the lacks and expectations we normally carry. True detachment frees us from emotional possessions, creating space for genuine love and more truthful interactions. It is not a path to loneliness, but a door that opens to deeper and more meaningful relationships, grounded in authenticity and free from the desire for control.
Notable how both views illuminate detachment as a path to deeper and more authentic connections, rather than isolation. Let's move on to our next question, a question that touches the core of the human experience. Maharaj, is it possible to love deeply without feeling vulnerable or afraid of loss?
Rubian, let me explain something fundamental to you. Loving deeply involves a surrender to the present moment where vulnerability is a natural part of the process. Imagine a river of love flowing unobstructed. Even though the water that passes does not remain, the essence of the river continues. True love transcends identification with the body and external circumstances. When we understand that love is an expression of our true essence, we can free ourselves from the anxiety that accompanies the idea of loss. It is more a state of being than a possession. Through the practice of conscious presence and detachment from forms, we can love with a freedom that is not affected by fear, allowing us to live love fully, even in the transience of experiences. True love transforms vulnerability into an acceptance of the natural flow of life.
What a profound perspective on the nature of love. And you, Krishnamurti, how do you see this relationship between love, vulnerability, and the fear of loss?
Look, Rubian, loving deeply inevitably puts us in a state of vulnerability. It's like a garden opening up to spring. There is beauty in the courage to bloom, even knowing that the petals will one day fall. When we truly love, we do not build walls of protection. We expose ourselves, connecting on a level that makes us susceptible to suffering. But this vulnerability is not a weakness, it is the expression of the authenticity of love. Conscious presence is fundamental in this process. When we are fully aware of our emotions, we can experience love in all its depth without being dominated by fear. It is in this space of innocence and surrender that love truly flourishes, even amidst the vulnerability of the human condition.
Fascinating how both perspectives show us that the true strength of love lies precisely in our ability to embrace vulnerability, transforming it into a gateway for deeper and more authentic connections. A question that touches the essence of the human heart. Maharaj, is love a conscious choice or a feeling that is beyond our control?
Rubian, love is something that transcends this duality between choice and control. It is like a melody that emerges naturally when we are in harmony with our deepest essence. When we are connected to our true nature, love flows spontaneously as a natural expression of being. However, confusion arises when we identify with the mind and its fluctuations. The mind tries to categorize love, control it, shape it according to its expectations. But true love cannot be imprisoned in these concepts. It is a quality of the true self that is independent of external circumstances. The path lies in recognizing that love is a constant presence, waiting to manifest when we remove the mental obstacles that block it. Thus, more than a choice or an uncontrollable feeling, love is a natural state of being that reveals itself when we align with our deepest truth.
What a fascinating perspective on the nature of love. Krishnamurti, how do you see this delicate relationship between conscious choice and spontaneous feeling in love?
Rubian, love is a delicate dance between awareness and spontaneity. Imagine a river flowing naturally, but that can be wisely directed. True love arises in this same way. It is an expression that transcends both conscious choice and mere emotion. When we free ourselves from conditioning and allow love to flow from our purest essence, it manifests not as a reaction, but as a conscious presence that chooses to be vulnerable and connected. It is a state that combines the wisdom of choice with the innocence of natural feeling. Authentic love is an inherent capacity that we all can cultivate, allowing it to express itself through us without the distortions of the ego or expectations. It is both a choice to remain present and a force that naturally emerges when we remove internal obstacles.
Incredible how both views reveal love as a force that transcends the duality between choice and spontaneity, inviting us to a deeper understanding of its true nature. And so we come to the end of this very special episode. The wisdom of Nisargadatta and Krishnamurti has shown us that true love transcends our expectations and fears, flowing naturally when we free ourselves from attachment and the distortions of the mind. I want to immensely thank our masters for sharing such profound and transformative teachings. Their perspectives on love, detachment, and compassion are true treasures that can illuminate our path to more authentic and liberating relationships. If you enjoyed this content, you will find on the screen 2 equally inspiring videos from our channel. Just click on the images to watch. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to continue receiving transformative content like this, which can truly impact your life. Thank you for watching until now, and I wish you to be free from everything that takes away your peace.